Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome from Startup to Standout, scaling your CPG brand with expert power. My name is Colin Mahan, and I'm a director of programs at the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center. And for those of you who may not know, the Nasdaq Center is a nonprofit improving access and knowledge in entrepreneurship to advance economic progress for all. As you probably just saw in the chat, the Nasdaq Center provides resources, programs, and exceptional mentorship to help entrepreneurs fuel prosperity no matter where their journey begins. Be sure to check out those links and resources shared in the chat. Now we're going to launch a few polls to take a step back and take a temperature gauge on how all of you are doing today. The first one, how are you feeling about your business right now? We use all of this poll information to guide the programs and resources we provide for this global community of entrepreneurs. So appreciate you voting. Let's see where we're at. Looks like optimism is in the lead on a Friday. Great to hear it. Let's see. If there are specific topics or challenges you'd like us to create resources for, please feel free to share them in the chat. We'll get right to it. As we're answering those polls, a couple of more housekeeping items. Let's see. First, let us know where you're dialing in from by dropping it into the chat. We'd love to see where you're joining us from today. Secondly, we're going to have live Q&A near the end of this session, so please submit those questions for us in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation. We'll do our best to get to them all. The final poll, what's keeping you up at night? Again, we use this to target the next couple of months of programming we're going to provide for you, our audience of entrepreneurs. So thanks for voting. Ooh, looks like sales is in the lead. And let's see where we're coming in from. Kansas City, Chicago, Florida. Love to see it. Texas, New York, Philadelphia, Alabama, SF Bay Area, Atlanta. Awesome. Love to see it. Now, while you're answering those last questions, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the incredible support of our corporate partners. The work we do at the center wouldn't be possible without all the amazing generosity and belief of our partners and funders, including Nasdaq, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, KPMG, Walmart, the Asia Innovation Hub, Wilson Sonsini, the Nareet Foundation, and BPM. We're deeply grateful for their partnership and hope you'll join us in sharing that appreciation as well. All right, so that final poll looks like sales did come in at the lead, followed by finance, which is going to be some of our topic today. So without any further delay, please join me in giving a warm welcome to our special guest. Stephanie Warlick is the founder and CEO of 5 Foot View Consulting, and we have John Belling, who's the Fractional Executive at 5 Foot View Consulting. Stephanie, John, hello, welcome.
Hello, appreciate it.
Thanks for
Over to
having
you.
us
Looking
today.
forward to this.
We are really looking forward to it. I love that there's people from across the country, and I love that we're interested in talking about sales, because that's what we're going to talk about, selling your products.
I saw Argentina somewhere. I don't know that I can help you in Argentina, but the philosophy still holds true.
Absolutely. Well, the good news is that we have folks on our team that do have tons of international experience, so we can help there too. Can everyone see my slide today?
Looks great.
Looks great. Thanks so much. Well, thank you for having us today. We're looking forward to talking to you. I understand that at last count, there were over 300 people registered. And so we're happy to share our wisdom with you. And when I say our wisdom, I say that loosely because I was the smart one to bring the expert CPG person to my team. That's John Belling. I'll introduce him in just a moment. What I'm great at is running businesses and know how to bring in the right people. So today is from startup to standout, scaling your CPG brand with expert power. We're going to talk through the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, and how to get your product out there. And I'm pressing the button to go to the next screen and it's not working, so bear with me. Guys, this happened to me the last time I was here. I don't know, it just decides to freeze when I get onto Nasdaq. All right. Here is our agenda for today, same as what was advertised. We're going to review some common issues that cause 85% of CPG brands to fail in their first 2 years. discover how fractional executives can help you scale smarter and faster, learn what worked and what didn't work for top CPG brands around our country, and some tools that can help you streamline decision making and fuel faster growth. So I'm really excited about that. I'm going to list for you what I've discovered are what we hear are the most common reasons that CPG brands fail in the first 2 years. They underestimate working capital. I don't know if that happens to anybody here. I'm going to take a poll at the end of this slide. I'd love to hear from you, the top 7 that we're going to go through, which are your favorites. And if you know now by looking at the slide, feel free to drop them in the chat for my team that's out there. I'd love for you to give me an idea of which ones are the most popular. We're going to give you a solution for each one. But underestimating working capital, you've got those upfront costs to your vendors, to your supply chain, and then your customers don't pay you sometimes for 60, 90, 120 days. That is tragic. You're not achieving market fit quickly enough. There's an early buzz, everybody gets excited, and we don't have velocity to carry that through. That's a big mistake of new brands. Acquisition is too expensive. Paid media, promos, other advertising, sampling, it chews away at your margin. Scaling stores faster than systems. You open too many doors, you've got too many SKUs or opening too many regions. It's killing your profit. Supply chain execution breaks under even the lightest of pressure. Oh my gosh, how many people had brands out there when all the boats had stuff out in the bay, in either Baltimore, Chesapeake Bay, or out in California? That was a nightmare, right? We had products sitting out there for months. Weak margin structure. So you're planning pricing for right now and not for the future. Again, promotions are a big drain. You've got rising costs from your supplies. And then no experienced operators in a room. You need to get to the next level, but everybody's experience and knowledge that you have on your team does not meet where you need to go. That's a big challenge for small businesses. So they rarely fail. CPG brands rarely fail because of the product. Most of them are awesome products. It's usually because of business model, and we'll probably hear John talk about it's about cash flow as well. Can't support their scale. So I can't see the chat. Can somebody on the team give me an idea of 1 through 7? I'd love to have you put out there. What are you seeing as your big pain points right now in CPG? John, Nasdaq team, do you see anything in the chat?
I saw one from Cynthia about don't let companies want to use you as their bank. 120 days is absurd, and I would agree. I've never seen 120, not that it doesn't exist. And I can talk a little bit about that in a success story, but I would agree.
Anybody else?
60 is painful enough, let alone 20.
For sure.
I'm seeing 1, 1, 7, 1, 7, 7, 7, 1, 6.
Perfect.
Looks
So
like one's deleted.
1 and 7, and that's awesome. That is fully what I expected.
Yeah.
And the great news is that's what we do. So we're going to give you answers and solutions to each one, but they're all going to culminate back in the same thing, and that is we're going to recommend fractional leadership to help scale and grow your business. And so we're going to move to the solutions for you. Thanks for those pain points and sharing them with me. How to beat those odds. So build a real financial model. You can anticipate what you need, plan your cash flow, plan your margins, get some runway, and it's not just spray and pray and wishful thinking. Prove velocity before your expansion. Focus on repeat velocity, add the right doors at the right time, and go before going wide. You need to make sure you have the right people in the right seats. You need experienced operators, part-time, to own up ops, finance, supply chain, people that have the expertise to get you exactly where you need to do. You can let AI, data, and automation do the heavy lifting for you. Use those forecasting tools, inventory, marketing, performance, and decision support. And if you don't have the expert, you need to bring that person in to help you. Design for margin, not just shelf appeal. Pricing for packaging and product is extremely expensive. You don't want to be paying $40 for a customer acquisition for a $5 product. You need an expert to help you with that. and treat your operations as a growth engine. You have tight systems, clear processes, and strong partners that turn scale into an advantage. It turns out, as I mentioned, that bringing an expert in, a fractional expert, can solve many of these problems for you. So here today, I'm very excited to introduce you to John Belling from our team, who is a CPG guru. John, I'm so excited for the group here to hear from you and all the brilliance that you've had. Welcome.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
And I am working to move the slides again.
I was going to say, you're controlling, I assume.
It doesn't like to move today.
Because I'm a marketing guy, I've got all the pretty pictures, and so that's probably slowing it
you
down.
do. Well, John brings, John, you know what? I forgot I had more intro for you. John brings more than 2 decades of experience to lifestyle brands. He's a results-driven leader with track record of maximizing revenue and profitability. He's a resourceful strategist with solid combination of business and management acumen, exceptional business development, and strategic alliance experience. He's quoted as saying, strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory, and tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. John, take it away.
Well, I am also going to have one correction. It's now 3 decades of doing this. So
you look so young. I didn't even think to question that.
I think we went too quickly. Go back one if you could, please. So, well, good. It's afternoon here where I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. So this is just a smattering of brands that I've either been employed by or worked with in conjunction. No, I didn't work at Major League Baseball, but when I was at New Era Cap, they were a partner of ours. But I've spent the majority of my career in consumer packaged goods, but I've also gone into the durable goods side and entertainment and apparel. So, people ask, well, are you a CPG person? What's your specialty? And I like to say lifestyle brands, because I've been either blessed or lucky that I've been able to work on and work with brands that I consider lifestyle brands, that have either approached me to come work for them, or I've approached them because it was a personal interest. So if you see on the bottom there, Mastercraft boats. If you don't know Mastercraft, I saw Colin was a snowboarder when I saw his office, so he probably knows wakeboarding. Mastercraft is kind of the Ferrari of the water ski and wakeboard world, and my family and I have been lake people and water skiers for a long, long time. So, but I've worked on baby products at Sassy, and I've worked in the entertainment industry with Live Nation, House of Blues Entertainment, and Opry, which is part of Ryman Hospitalities. So I've been pretty blessed to work on some really fun stuff. On the same note, I've also done, I know this is entrepreneurial, Clearly Canadian was a startup, and I'll talk specifically about that, later on. But even though Clearly Canadian is kind of a legacy brand from the late 80s, early 90s, we reintroduced it into the marketplace when it had gone away. So that's a little bit about my background, who I've worked with. Okay, go ahead, Stephanie.
I'm trying, John. Bear with me.
I know it's
really next. I don't know what is. There we go. Go ahead.
So I'm sure everybody has heard of the marketing rule of 7. If not, I'll explain it because it really kind of stands true. So the marketing rule of 7 was, allegedly created in the 1930s from the movie industry out in Hollywood. And the thought was that people had to see a movie poster 7 times before they would actually go buy a ticket. So what I'm kind of about to show you, and maybe it's not that big of an epiphany, but if you think about it, but Stephanie talked about cash flow and what KPIs are and where you're going to burn cash. And when you look at some of those touch points, you'll kind of understand why cash is and having enough working capital is definitely king. Now, as things have changed from the to the digital world, is that rule and all the noise that's going on, does that rule of 7 change to 8, 9, or even 17? But the point is, if you create something and you create a product that you think is amazing, walk into your convenience store, grocery store, or some type of store and expect you to stand out versus a consumer knowing it. I always tell people, go down the water aisle and count how many different types of waters there are. And that kind of, I worked with an investor one time that knew nothing about the CPG space, but he liked this product that he was looking at. And I told him to go into Publix and walk down the water aisle. And he did not do the grocery shopping in his household. And he walked in, he said, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea there were so many." And so it kind of stands true. Okay, Stephanie, go ahead. So, in an entrepreneurial perspective, I'm definitely curious on what everybody's background is and what products they have. But I've found that if a brand does not have a good story, because marketing and branding in this space is all about storytelling. And if you think of, like recently with Poppy selling to Pepsi, it that couple, and if you ever saw that episode of Shark Tank, I think it was called Mother's something. It was in a bottle, but it was a vinegar-based, prebiotic product. Um, but she created that for her own health purposes, gut health purposes, and now, of course, the category itself has changed dramatically. But her story was so good, and that's why the Shark Tank investment came in, and other investment came in from private equity groups, and that's where it started to take off. But that story will start to define your landscape and your audience. So, you want to have a truthful story. There's plenty of brands that make up stories. And then ultimately that goes into your channel. So somebody had written 120 days. That's a channel that I wouldn't go into, or a vendor I wouldn't go into. I mean, and I'll get into it. You saw that I worked for Red Bull, but we had a very specific strategy. Now you can find Red Bull anywhere and everywhere, but we had a very specific strategy 25 years ago, and that was to only go into convenience stores with two facings in the cold vault, which now you think about it, it's almost kind of comical that that was our strategy. Um, and I'll talk about that a little bit, but we had a very specific strategy and channels. The distributors didn't necessarily like it all the time, but we said, that's what we're doing. That's what we're going to do it. That's how we're going to build our brand. And we stuck to it. And then that velocity started to come. Okay, Steph. All right. Definitely don't want to insult everybody, but I picked this on purpose because they've got the e-com site world as well. This is so important because I personally worked with a lot of entrepreneurs that come up with a product and they think just because they have the most amazing product, they're going to go to that bottle funnel instantly. Just people purchases, just get in the store, go, get the sales force out there, get the distributor partners out there, and it's just going to purchase. And you get into crowded spaces, even if you have a brand new product, because brand new products can be kind of challenging because a buyer in a store or distributor will scratch out and say, "Where do you want me to place this?" Because if you've worked in those traditional channels, whether it's on premise, off premise, convenience, grocery, big box, that buyer needs to know where to place this product. And then all of a sudden you go into a very crowded space. So if you're not, then I use this word very carefully, investment versus spend. And sometimes investors definitely look at marketing as well as overhead as a spend versus an investment. And this is critical that you invest in the right awareness building so you can get that consideration and then eventually that pull through. Same note on the e-commerce side. I mean, if you're working with Amazon now, you know very well your margins get eroded pretty greatly just doing business with them. I always tell entrepreneurs that, direct to consumer is a great platform to start, but eventually you have to use a traditional model. So I'm not going to be around anymore when we see Walmart or Target, go out of business, which I don't think will ever happen. So as powerful as Shopify and Amazon is, and it continues to grow exponentially, new Walmart locations, new Target locations continue to open up. And then you've got your regional grocery stores or regional C stores that continue. But the e-com site is an absolutely beautiful place to start. And then I've seen it happen on brands. Eventually it flip flops and your volume and money comes from traditional. Okay, Steph. All right, so this is an example. This is a real client that I have. So Cellivate is a gummy product. It's an anti-inflammatory gummy product. So there's a lot of things on here that might not necessarily relate to you, but this goes back to the rule of sevens. And these are the categories that we invest in. And so the shopper marketing side is your retail point of view. And those are programs, the buy one, get one, the promotional execution. Of course, you've got your retail distribution bucket. Some of the biggest areas that I love for the top of the funnel side is the public relations side, is because it is the one area that it's a third party voice. People are smart now. People know we pay influencers. People know, but then every once in a while you get the, unpaid endorsement of an influencer saying, "Oh, I've just discovered this product. This is life-changing for me. You've got to go out and try it." But the PR side of thing is you're getting that media person to talk about your product and use a third-party voice. I'm gonna date myself a little bit. I remember when I was at House of Blues Entertainment and my Facebook rep, because we work directly with Facebook, called me and said, "You now have to pay for your ads, even though you're doing 10,000 concerts a year." And I said, "Well, what do you mean I have to pay to use you guys?" I said, "John, if you don't pay to have your ads pop up in somebody's feed on the top, it's just going to get pushed down and they're not going to see them." So I had to go and ask for a very larger budget. But the social side of things, I actually had a gentleman resign there and said he was going to work for this little company called TikTok. Didn't know what TikTok was, and here we are years and years later. And so there will be another social channel that pops up that starts to change and dominate the space, and that's not going to go away. It's only going to get stronger. Ironically, every research study that you see, email marketing, CRM, is still incredibly powerful. We all have emails. We all get ads served up to us. And, if you show interest, because that second you are shopping on Amazon or Macy's or Nordstrom's or whatever retail, and you click that button, your email address gets sold to somebody. And so I've had upwards of 50 million customers in my CRM platform when I was at House of Blues Entertainment. And I've had as small as we're just getting started. We need to build up our communication. Cause marketing, eventually, as you develop traction, there is a stat out there. I think 85% of Gen Z and millennials will adopt a product because a brand takes a platform or a cause and donates back to that cause for something they believe in. So cause is a very powerful, and the reality is 501(c)(3)s are always looking for corporate partners to work with. And there's so many of them out there. There's the large ones, 2% and Susan G. Komen, but there are so many small ones that make sense. Digital, I think, speaks for itself. That's very top of the funnel. We talked about direct to consumer, and in this particular case, because we've got a kind of an anti-inflammatory, athletic-based product, we deal with a lot of professional sport teams. So the next one takes this. We can go next one, Stephanie, and it kind of applies it to the funnel itself, in terms of an above the line, which that creates the brand awareness side, and the below the line is that purchase side of things. So, I can focus on whether it's email marketing and digital, or that shopping or that shopper marketing. That's I'm in store. It's buy one, get one. Those are promotional programs that I put together with my retailer, and it's kind of that instantaneous, promotion. On the CRM and digital side of things, you know, we and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. We changed. We had a huge paradigm shift at House of Blues because we did a lot of traditional media before I got there, but everybody buys it. Nobody stands in line anymore to go get a ticket. Everything they buy it online. So they, you know, whether you get early access or you see that advertisement that your favorite artist is coming into town, that instant click and click through. And the other thing is in a conduit on the shopper marketing side, you can see if you're getting pull through from that promotion, which is makes the retailer very happy. But the ROI and the data on click throughs in a digital in a CRM capacity is an incredibly powerful tool. And you can also use that to your retail advantage to say, listen, we've got a brand that's very healthy. When I'm running, I'll just make it up, I'm running my Kroger promotion. Not only am I getting the click throughs, but I'm also driving them to your store. And here's what I'm showing you. Okay, the next one, Steph. Whoops.
Did screen share just go away?
Yes, it did.
Sorry about that. I literally am, Zoom is fighting me today. Thank you for patience. Trying again. There you go. See if we can advance this time. There we go.
Okay. So we're going to do a little what didn't work. And so some of them are actually really relevant as of yesterday. So one on the far left, when you Google tattoo schnapps, I can literally only find like two photographs. I think it's been around for a while. And that liquid's actually supposed to be yellow. So that's a really, really old photograph. But as you know, Stephanie was saying that you know, a lot of good products are created. In this particular case, what didn't work, it was not so much that it was a poor tasting product, but it went beyond that because we didn't spend the time kind of testing the product out itself. So the lemon schnapps was very low proof, but it was a shot. It was a shooter. It was not something you mixed a cocktail with. The uniqueness of the product in there was cherry and blueberry. And the uniqueness of the product, so a couple of things. Tattoos were just starting to come into popularity for, you know, somebody in a white collar position versus, if you were a biker or in the military, you had tattoos. So tattoos were starting to become a little more mainstream in terms of anybody getting a tattoo. Well, this product, you would do the shot and it would tattoo your tongue. It literally would turn your tongue yellow, blue, or red. Or if you took all three, and we had some shot vessels that you could do all three, you would literally get stripes on your tongue. This was an incredibly short-lived product. What didn't work was potentially the obvious. Not only would it stain your tongue if you're a bartender, and if you've ever been into an on-premise environment and it's busy, and if you ever saw the movie Cocktail with Tom Cruise, that's real in some environments. People are going crazy back and forth, and they're mixing drinks and grabbing beers, and stuff gets spilled. Well, it stains your fingers. It also stains the surface of the bar. It was also very hard to get out of shot glasses in some of these, dishwashing systems that had on premise. So as quick as bartenders thought it was really cool and very novel, it went away very quickly in about 90 days because they were just like, take this stuff out of here. I do not want this. So the lesson here is you might create a great tasting product, but make sure you also test in other environments and make sure, the product, if you've got a bar or a snack chip, that it stays together long term. It's not compromised and changing flavor when you put it in the bottle or in the package for a long time. So just go beyond just the quick test. Steph, you go back one, please. So vitamin water 10. So I'm sure everybody knows vitamin water. So after we sold the Coca-Cola, vitamin water itself was pretty high in sugar. We used to call that the base brand. So there was definitely a movement toward a healthier for you, less sugar product. So when we came up with this, stevia was really not in the mix of the world. There were some other ones out there, aspartame, which if heaven forbid causes cancer, and some other products out there that were not really that good. But we wanted to keep the sweetness of all these flavors we had, or just in general. And literally, again, about a 90-day, issue we had, these tasted very much like what we call the base flavor. So that triple X tasted like triple X. And we did have cannibalization in our base brand, which anytime you come out with a sugar-free or better for you product within the same family, that cannibalization is going to happen. But we really quickly heard a lot of noise from consumers going, well, I want 0 calories. Why is there 10 calories? I want nothing. And so while sales skyrocketed, even though Roted base, we got a lot of feedback from consumers. So the lesson here is, just because you are massively successful with one, it's still worth it to do a decent amount of research to make sure before you call it vitamin water 10, if there's a stronger thought of going, how do you make it 0 calories? I want 0. I liked it. I want a sugar free, what have you. So we did this without really, going out with it. We just knew the category was very opportunistic and we should go there. So that product lasted for about 90 days. And then, of course, we came with Vitamin Water Zero and it has stevia in it, and it was all good. Okay, the last one is kind of real time. And so Steph had that bullet point. I think it was the number one and the number one thing people want to ask: capital. So if you haven't heard of Calexo, it's a startup brand that is a THC infused hemp beverage. We also have a mocktail version of the same flavor, different can. But the point is, great company, great partners. The product tastes unbelievable. They really thought of the product. So if you know nothing, you've never had any THC product, it's very kind of earthy tasting. I mean, it comes from a plant. And so almost bitter. If you just drank or put a little THC liquid on your tongue, it would just taste very bitter and very earthy. So what they did is, if you've ever had a cocktail that ingredient would call for bitters, they formulated cocktails that you would inherently put bitters in it if you're a bartender. So while the cucumber and the lemon is definitely powerful, it still has that kind of cocktaily taste that's bitter. But it was, so the product itself is it tastes fabulous. The challenge is undercapitalization. And then I'll tell you about the legal challenge that just happened yesterday, is undercapitalization. We're constantly going, okay, the distributor wants to order more, we're getting pull through, but then we've got lack of funds to just go into our co-packer and say, I need a container full. I need 20 pallets of this flavor, this flavor, this flavor. So what you want to be able to do is have enough cash on hand to not only produce product, store product, because my next slide of what should have been, what didn't work, I can't tell you how many LinkedIn slides I see where there's a display and the owner, the entrepreneur is so excited that they sold out on Sunday. Out of stock is a bad thing. Always is a bad thing. It's never a good thing, because you don't know if the consumer came in Sunday night and saw an empty display and wish they could have, purchased a product. You always want to have enough stock. And it's a little bit of a trickle down execution, is that means you didn't sell it enough. Maybe you didn't produce enough. Maybe you didn't have enough inventory and storage. There could be a lot of factors, but working capital is paramount. Somebody might ask, I should probably go on these messages, um, how much is enough money? There's this weird number out there, is if you raise $5 million in total, you're probably good to go. If you raise $1 million to $2 million in your friends and family round before you get to a Series A, you definitely probably have some runway. And then there's kind of this loose number, and I can talk to them about in a minute on the good stuff, is if you hit 10 million in sales, you're not going anywhere. You are going to absolutely survive and keep going. The last thing what didn't work in this category is THC is a controversial category. If you're following this at all, it's good that the government is now back to work, but the government, who they are, they slid one line into this 148-page bill that they have now made THC and hemp derived products illegal. And basically it's THC prohibition for the next year. So it's a $28 billion industry right now. So it doesn't matter if you're a farmer or a producer of product, they have 1 year to figure this out. And there's hundreds of brands out there to the tune of about a $28 billion industry, and 185,000 jobs are predicting could be lost. So if you're going to go into a category that's controversial, just be aware that there may be some challenges in the future. Okay, Steph. Now we're going to get to the good stuff. So those are things that didn't work. All right. It's kind of laughable now, maybe, but I started with Red Bull in 2001. Not only did people think we were crazy for selling this tiny little can for $1.99 in the retail, they said, why would they buy that? Why did they just get a Coca-Cola or Mountain Dew? Why did this give you any? There's questions left and right. And so this circle was our actual circle, our love circle that we used to use. So this is kind of the rule of sevens. That's the bigger circle that I showed you before. That's how long this has been around. Well, we basically had 4 platforms, and sampling was very big. Again, 2001, you can Google when Facebook, came around. We didn't have digital advertising. We did traditional advertising, television, radio, and a lot of PR. We did an enormous amount of event marketing, and some of those events were actually really small, very local. And then I'm sure everybody's seen the little Red Bull car. My last year in 2006, I sampled over 3 million cans just in the Midwest. So I had about 50 million people in my region in the Midwest out of Chicago, and we sampled 3 million cans. So that constant frequency and filling that funnel ended up converting. And even now people look at this and yeah, it's now a Harvard case study. Well, 2002, 5, people at Harvard would have laughed at us, or P&G would have laughed at us if we came out with this product. Now they are, I don't know, $9-10 billion brand. Oh, the other thing I should mention, we had one flavor. It was Red Bull. When I was there, we came out with sugar-free. So all the flavors that are now, we had one flavor when we started, and that's it. We concentrate on one flavor, and that's it. And I'm not saying that works for everybody, but in this particular case, it did. Okay, Steph.
I'm on mute, so you can't hear me because I'm cursing, but
Okay.
I'm trying to make it go forward. Zoom is just fighting. So sorry. All right, here we go.
Okay. All right.
There we go.
So I talked about House of Blues a little bit. So I went in, if you, the concert industry, I mean, it's a pretty simplistic platform. One difference is why we had the House of Blues brand, and I should mention that House of Blues Entertainment, we also had a lot of clubs and theaters. I saw somebody said Philadelphia. So I had clubs in Philadelphia. For the people in Philly, if you've ever been to the Fillmore, we built that up in Fishtown, literally from the ground up. So we had places like the Fillmore as well. But bottom line is all my venues that I had were like 2,000 capacity and lower. So I even had comedy clubs that would have 100 people that could fit in them. But in this industry, it was so not only are you dealing with the brand of the venue, you're dealing with artists who are incredibly sensitive. And these artists travel around the country. They want to land in Philadelphia, drive into Philadelphia. They want to turn on their radio. They want to see posters. They want to see a billboard. They want to make sure that you're doing the right thing to get ticket sales so those venues are filled up. So historically, the concert space, go Birds. The concert space has always been a very traditional media side of things. So it was either going to be a great job for me, or I was going to get fired when I made this next comment. I went into a CEO I reported to, and I said, "We're not marketing correctly." And he closed the door. He goes, "What do you mean?" And I poured over all sorts of research not surprisingly, everybody was digitally oriented. And this is before you had to pay for Facebook, I've got a Twitter logo on it. It should be an X logo. Meta wasn't involved yet. IG was a separate company. So literally, we did a paradigm shift. We were basically at the time 75% social, or excuse me, traditional media, which is expensive. I mean, it's expensive to run print and radio and out of home. Whereas it's you've got a better buying power in a digital capacity. You can also stop it. You put a billboard up, you're bought and sold, paid for. You can't do anything about it. You do flighting, even if you're working with iHeart, you do flighting. It's very difficult to get a new slot if they've already got you slotted in. Digital, I can turn it off right now. I can turn it off today and start it tomorrow. Redo it all. The bottom line is our KPIs on this changed dramatically because, as silly as it sounds, I had 10,000 concerts a year. If I sold 10 more, 20 more, 30 tickets per show, that revenue amplified because each person coming in, we had a KPI that they would spend, whether it's parking, coat check, food, drinks, $150 a person. So all of a sudden you had 10 more tickets. That's $1,500 more revenue. This is one venue times 10,000 shows. It changes. That's millions upon millions of dollars that we just doing a shift. So it worked. I did get fired, which was good. And it was an incredibly successful way to look at things. Okay, next one. I think this is my last one. All right. If you are over 40, you remember this brand from nostalgic times of the late 80s, early 90s. If you're under 40, hopefully you've seen this recently. So this was 100% entrepreneurial startup. So a gentleman contacted me and said, we can buy the Clearly Canadian IP. I need a VP of marketing. I need to build a team. So we raised the capital, we bought the IP, which literally was we bought the rights to the name and a whole bunch of other Clearly names, a lead mold for the shape of that kind of iconic teardrop bottle, as well as the recipes. We then did a crowdfunding campaign and we raised a bunch of money, but we did a little different. It wasn't just to start the company, it was to start a production run. So we sold at least one case, incredibly expensive, $50 a case, in all 50 states. And I think it was 35 countries around the world. And that kind of kicked us off. So the question about terms, sometimes you get lucky. It's just sometimes the way it works. Our first call about distribution was with Cost Plus World Market. So I think I saw somebody from San Francisco. So Cost Plus is based out of San Francisco. If you've ever been in a Cost Plus World Market, it's definitely different. They've kind of eclectic and different type of products in their kind of small grocery and beverage area. They've got a significant wall of coolers now. They called us and they said, we know you're going to go into traditional retail, but we'd like to take your product on. And so we said, great, but how much do you want? Well, they put in a significant order. We didn't have enough money to do it. So we were very blessed. They said, we'll pay you COD, and this is our order. That enabled us to go to a bank and get a line of credit. So we were able to then start production. That distribution, the next retailer we called on was Hy-Vee, which typically don't start in the Midwest, but there was a lot of bordering Canadian state. I know Iowa doesn't border Canada, but those Midwestern states, Michigan, New York, et cetera, was very popular for Clearly Canadian. And then it just kind of went from there. We also did something a little different is instead of getting the distributor, we actually got commitment from a retailer first and then went after the distributor because distributors were really excited when I would say, hey, we got Hy-Vee, we got Kroger. If anybody does have or had called on Publix, Clearly Canadian just got into Publix. We got rejected, I think, 5 or 6 times. So keep at it. They're can sometimes be challenging, but it's worked. It's got. I know it doesn't have complete West Coast distribution, but it's a little bit of a resurgent and a really good story that I'm really happy that I was involved with.
Thanks, John. I think that is your last slide. I am trying to go to the next one again. How many times have I said that today? That's good. We got to the next slide. You're all set. We've got about 12 minutes, folks. I'm going to speed through these last couple slides because I really did want to give you the opportunity to ask this expert, John Belling, about questions that you have to help with your business. We're all about adding value at 5 Foot View, and we do want to help educate you to help your businesses grow. So the screen that I'm sharing right now is committed in the agenda and takeaways was just a few tools for efficient growth that I did some research and have heard from my customers. I want to qualify it with 5 Foot View has not directly used any of these products. However, we have clients that are telling us they are great in terms of automating for small and mid-sized brands and really having visibility into your clients, customers and consumer purchasing trends. I'm going to speed fast that, knowing that both Nasdaq and John and I can get these slides to you for further information, just so that we can preserve time for Q&A. The next product that I wanted to tell you about was another cool product that I learned about recently that's decreasing theft, increasing revenue, and buyer trends, and it's called Migo. It actually, I'm going to skip through all of the words here and show you the image. With the app on a phone, Migo can actually track the hand and motions walking of a consumer through a store to see if they pick up your product and put it back, which product they pick up. Do they pick up cherry versus grape, and so forth, so that you can not only see how the consumers are observing your products, but also the retailers that are using this product can use it to guide consumers to exactly where that product sits on a shelf. So there is some super cool AI technology that is coming out to help drive consumers directly to your product and where it sits on the shelf. It is, again, AI based, integrates with your with your phone and the retailer, and it works with existing point of service systems. Again, all this information can be shared with you. Just moving through. Again, it increases revenue, no additional costs, real-time inventory mapping, and behavior intervention and training for employees as well. And then if you want to get some expert advice from those individuals like John Belling, who have so much experience, it's really an honor to hear from you today, John. Fractional experts are what 5 Foot View provides. We can help with your profit margin challenges and your forecasting through our CFOs. We've got chief commercial officers, or gosh, you could put any CXO title on John with all the work that he's done to help grow brands. They're immediately available, low risk, no commitment beyond 90 days. We do feel that our experts can be immediately impactful. However, we feel that 90 days is anything less than that is project-based. We feel like 90 days is really a good period of time for us to make a huge impact for you. And they have industry expertise with all sizes of companies, affordable with flexible scheduling. The QR code that I'm showing leads you right to John's expert page on the 5 Foot View website. I encourage you to scan it, and you can learn more about John today. And that is the last slide. So Colin, I think you're going to lead the Q&A for us for anybody that has questions for John.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Stephanie. And thank you so much, John. What a great presentation. Lots of takeaways, lots of insights. And if you have questions for John or Stephanie, drop them into the chat. We've got some here. What isn't the question but a comment that would make you smile, Stephanie? Remember, the glitches occur when Mercury is in retrograde.
Thank you. We'll just blame Mercury.
There you go. Okay, and then on a more serious note, sampling costs money because you're giving away your product. Is there a mathematical framework for turnover or conversion? Agree, sampling is crucial, but just want to get an idea of the investment. John, I think that one's for you.
Yeah, honestly, the best outlet to do this in is Costco because not only do they require a sampling program, they will take a certain amount of product and they do small pours. Red Bull's an anomaly because their budgets were funded by Austria and it was crazy, crazy, crazy numbers. So I think I'd have to be honest, I'd have to sit down, go through COGS, go through the product itself, where you want to do it. But I love doing it at Costco. One, Costco takes on new products. They can segment it down to, let's say somebody's from Philadelphia. Let's say you just wanted to do it in Philadelphia and they will give you those stores there. They will take a certain amount of product and they have some requirements they want you to get pulled through to see if they're going to give you other stores, but it's probably the best platform. They also do, sippy cups and small samples versus, giving out a whole can or bottle or bar or what have you. But you have to definitely sit down and kind of go through it and you have to crunch numbers.
Yep. So it's a art and a science.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see. Um, any advice on landing big corporate contracts if you're a small business?
Corporate contracts in terms of retailers.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Okay.
what I'm guessing.
Yeah. So it's it's old school sales, unfortunately. You have to connect. So I'll give the Kroger example for Clearly Canadian. I connected with the buyer on LinkedIn. I set up a lunch versus before I presented. I got very lucky. Ironically, he's now with LA Libations. But I met with him. He remembered the brand. He then invited me to the Dog and Pony show, which again, there was no guarantee, but it is work. It is phone calls. It is emails. Those big buyers will blow you off until they respond because they get constant. Um, so it just you just have to be very resilient and just over and over and over.
Yeah. And it
Now,
works again.
I will say, we didn't talk about velocity a lot. The second you have some real data, it's and not everybody can afford Nielsen at this stage either. But if you have a retail that you have and you can start to use real data and say, how would you like me to deliver $100,000 to your bottom line? Here's the velocity I'm doing in X store.
Yep. Let's see, we're almost at time, but we want to get at least one more of these questions. Uh, um, so not to put you on the spot, John, but there's a question here on how to any advice around just high level advice on entering the US market, the CPG market from international.
Yeah, always depends on what kind of product, and because I didn't even mention this. So yeah, I would still stick to the Amazon model. However, there are a variety of warehouse type companies, and they take the same type of percentage wise. But there is KeHE, UNFI, HT Hackney, that they are warehouse models, and they will take bulk. You have to do the same thing. You have to go in and sell it into the buyer, but you get a meeting with any one of those. UNFI and KeHE are fantastic. And then eventually you phase yourself out once you get into Circle K or Kroger or Publix. But those three areas, KeHE, UNFI, and HT Hackney.
Perfect. Well, we are at time. John, Stephanie, it's time for our key takeaway. If somebody was going to dial into the last couple minutes of this talk, what do you want people to come away with today?
John, would you like to take that?
Yeah, if it wasn't for entrepreneurs, one, I wouldn't have the ability to work on the things that I've worked on. Don't be discouraged. Fight hard. I am not an entrepreneur. And so I am always amazed at people like yourselves that do this. And I will tell you that if the one you're working on now fails, do not be afraid to start another one.
Oh, that's great advice. Oh, well, John, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time, sharing some of your first world experience, and I'm sure that our audience enjoys, are grateful as well.
Thank you
Thank
for
you for
having
having
us.
us.
Amazing. All right, for those of you still on, have some great webinars. You can view them in the chat. Follow up. We'll follow up with this deck with Stephanie and John's contact information and more resources to fuel your journey. But thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you all online soon. Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks. Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
John.
Bye.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Bye now.